And we are live. So, welcome to episode 273 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got So Far Away, Sea Soup Sandwich at Belmar Surf Pro, September 7th.
Yes, my first gig with that band's coming up. September 7th.
Congratulations. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. And we've got Michael James from the Divine Will Era YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
All right. The local Piney, author of The Pineys. It's good to see you again, man. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, always. It's always good to have you you boys on. So they say that like every Western, every samurai movie is a morality tale. So I wanted to move in a bit of a different direction towards cinema with the channel and coming back to horror every now and again. And I thought, what better than an entire summer of Kurosawa films?
Why not?
And the difficulty with that is, of course, in terms of a live stream, is that you have to find ones that are available to everybody. I happened to look onto Tubi, and I found Akira Kurosawa's Ran. So if you're ready to go, shall we get it going? Boogie woogie. So I said that we would be decreasing the number of live streams because it is summertime and I want to enjoy the summer and I want other people to enjoy the summer. But it's good to have one, I guess, during these next few months, one, maybe two a month or something along those lines. I was happy to talk about this, and I'm a big Kurosawa fan. This movie was made for about $11 million. Which is just incredible. You had no miniatures being used, about 1,400. The scale of it and the attention to detail is what always gets me about this. About 1,400 separate samurai outfits made for them. The only film that Kurosawa was where he ever received an Oscar nomination for Best Director. And by 1985, he had about 40 years of filmography and for some reason was always bypassed. It is probably one of the most brutal examples for me, not in terms of physical brutality, but just one of the most brutal examples of feudalism that I've ever seen, and what it must have really been like to live under that particular system. There's just about every sort of wrongdoing happening that you can imagine in this film. Let's go around. I'm going to start with Tony, actually. What did you think of the film? A general blurb, and then we can move around and get to each of us, and then pick out some points. It's a 3 hour. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. I should say that right now this film is available on Tubi, so you can watch it for free. I don't know if it's going to change over in July, but if you haven't seen it, I think you should. It's one of the best films of all time, probably in a top 100 list. Tony, what do you got for us?
Well, Kurosawa always makes a beautiful film, right? So I want to say the positive first. It's beautiful to look at. You just see all these mountains and these sweeping shots. The downside of all this is this 2.5 hour movie, you really feel it in terms of its length. The pacing is deadly in this thing. It's so slow. Now, part of that is when it was made. It was made at a time when movies would roll out slower, and it was made in Japan, which was a little behind what the Americans were kind of doing. By that time, by the 80s, we were kicking it up and really increasing our, it wasn't the 70s anymore where you would have scenes when guys did something, you would see them do it from beginning to end. Like the scene in Ran when he cuts down a switch to stick in the ground to give shade to the old man. You see the entire process of that. And it only takes a couple of minutes, but you don't need to see it. Like in a modern movie, you would just say, oh, let me cut a switch. And then it would be like, boom, it's in the ground, over. But instead, we see him walk over to the switch, cut the switch, look at the switch, move it back to the old man, stick the first one into the ground, adjust it, put the second one into the ground, adjust it, walk away, then look at it, and then a shot of the old man. And I was like, holy cow.
Are you a fan of foreign films?
I like some of them.
Okay.
But,
because foreign films just don't have an American pace. I'm just asking.
I know they don't. I have the attention span of a fruit fly, but these, it's so slow and ponderous. And I'm like, I got stuff to do. And the movie is just not helping me. And it's not giving me anything with all that extra stuff. Now, like in certain scenes, maybe. But like the scene with the switch, like I get it. He's helping his old man, and it shows that his love for his father. But man, I would take that movie and I would instantly cut 40 minutes out of it. It wouldn't change the movie at all. It would just make things happen faster.
Probably.
All right. Michael James, what do you got?
So there's a lot that I agree with that. And yes, the pacing was very slow. I really liked this movie, and I thought the style was very refreshingly different. Not just the slow pace, but when you look at these far, wide shots, no close-ups, and what they're doing with just the intonations of their voice and their body language, they're really telling the story in a very theatrical kind of way, almost like the theater, doing a lot with their bodies and these long still shots. The one scene that comes to mind is with the Queen Bee or Lady Bee, and it's a really kind of emotional scene where he's telling her how he's guilty about killing her father and the family and stuff, and she found Buddha. There's a lot going on there, but there's never a close up of her face, never.
Yeah.
And it's even hard to say what. And same with her blind brother. You don't even know what's going on. They're just doing a lot with their posture, and you kind of get into this sort of slow-paced Japanese. Even their posturing, their walks, it really kind of brings you into something very exotic, something very different. Now, I never saw King Lear before. I'm not familiar with King Lear, so this is even better for me to kind of appreciate the story this way. And I looked into King Lear after I watched this, and this seems way better. I love all the changes they made to Shakespeare. I really liked it. Great acting, excellent story. I did feel when it was burning down and the old man survived, Hildegast, whatever his name is, Hildegast.
Hidetora.
It was almost like the movie was over. It really had to stop and restart up again. And I'm like, oh, it feels like the ending of the movie. And then I immediately knew what the only thing that was left to do was
Yeah.
Subaru was gonna have to do it. But yeah, it just dead stop and had to start back up, which was very different as well. It was almost like movie stop and let's do another movie. It was really interesting. It was really good. It was long, but I really enjoyed it.
So Far Away. What do you got?
Well, I have to agree with Tony in that there are parts of this that dragged on a little bit too long. But I disagree with the switch scene. I thought the switch scene was fantastic. And I agree with Michael. This movie is visually stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. And I was super surprised that this was in color. I was expecting a black and white because I'm not schooled in Kurosawa, and you know that I have problems watching a lot of samurai movies. So this was like a revelation to me. I never expected it to be such a beautiful movie, such a well-shot movie. And I enjoyed all the stuff that I saw in it that I know modern American directors have stolen from, and it's just a really fantastic movie with a very epic sort of an epic scale, and yeah, it does Shakespeare really well and blends it with the samurai thing amazingly. It was I kind of figured it out early, and I was sat there waiting for it to play out in front of me, and it did exactly what I knew it was going to do after about a half hour. So yeah.
This film hold on a second. Oh, we got a comment here. We got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. He goes, I've missed that intro song. It's been a while. Hope everyone on the panel is doing well. What's happening, man? This film comes probably from the end of the spectrum where people were regularly making 2 to 3 hour films. Today, that would be a huge thing. But around 85 is about when that starts to taper off. Scorsese still doing it a little bit, at this point. But Coppola, maybe in the late 70s, these sorts of things. But they generally tend to be maybe the only two. However, probably Scorsese and Coppola would tell you how heavily influenced they were by Kurosawa. I lost my train of thought here for a second. This is a film where it's not an action film. No. It's just not. It's not like 13 Assassins where we talked about that, where the whole last hour is just like this giant, battle scene with blood and guts just flying everywhere. It's just this sort of pace story where you just watch you're watching all these people. It's like a viper's pit, and just everybody in it is just awful, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 people. There's very little self-awareness in any of these characters. They only see themselves. They see what they want. If you're in the way, I'm going to eliminate you.
So I did my research, Mike, and the name of the movie, Ran, stands for chaos or disturbance, and it could also mean disintegration, because that's what you're watching throughout the entire thing. You're watching not only this kingdom disintegrate and fall into chaos, but also all the characters, all their plans start falling into chaos. All that Japanese rigid order starts to fall apart because they all start thinking about themselves. And it goes back to that scene in the beginning with the bundle of sticks, and how you can break 1 arrow easily, but put 3 together and you can't. They all split apart. They were all single arrows, and they all just broke apart.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, geez, I just lost my train of thought again. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I haven't been doing
getting
this
older. You're getting older, Werewolf.
I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, and like I have to lead these conversations, so I have like all these threads to do these things. But samurai films tend to be heavy indictments, actually, of the samurai system. they point out a lot of the flaws. If you watch something like Masaki Kobayashi's Harakiri or Seven Samurai, or this kind of film, just again how awful all these people are. And it was supposed to be initially the story about this famous samurai warlord Motonari, who had 3 extraordinarily loyal sons. But then, Kurosawa said, well, why don't I just kind of flip that? And I think he realized, as he started to kick off in that direction, that, oh, wait a minute, this is Lear. I could just borrow from Lear, which he ended up borrowing heavily from. There's a line at the very end, and it says, when Hidetora, the old boar, dies, and he's got the classic fool in there who's, the only person who's really telling the truth, doing it in a comic way. And he starts crying, and that one man goes, because the guy starts yelling at God or at Buddha, you're very cruel to us. And he's like, what are you talking about? He said, it's the gods that weep. They see us killing each other over and over again since time began. They can't save us from ourselves. It's how the world is. Men prefer sorrow over joy, suffering over peace. It's a heavy indictment. Somebody take it from here. I mean, because I'm thinking of these women actually, and the Lady Kaede, who's kind of one of the bigger villains. I don't know if she is the villain, but certainly is a villain. But there's that scene in the film where she's first talking to her first husband, who gets murdered by her brother, Tato. And she's saying, over there, it's right there where my mother died. Mm-hmm. Like I'm kneeling in my old castle again, which your father took, killed my family. The way she does it, I can't remember if it was Bill or Mike who was just saying it, with the expressiveness, like they're just sitting there and her husband doesn't know what to say.
Yep.
You almost get the impression that they almost have a congenial marriage. But you think about what it must be like to have to marry the son of the guy who killed your whole fucking family, and what feudalism must have really been like. Somebody take it from there.
Well, what plays out after that is for me the most striking thing. The movie within the movie. Speaking of the women, was the comparison between the second son's wife, Shue. She is, walking this path of forgiveness. The Buddhism aspect, and then you have the wife of the first son, and she is just full on a white hot knife, just cutting through this family and destroying it for no other reason than to watch them, bleed and die and fall apart.
Lady Kagai was ruthless, bloodthirsty, incredibly sexy. My favorite character in this whole thing. Just a wonderful character, almost like Lady Macbeth inserted into King Lear. And I think you said very interesting. It really brings you into this timepiece. What was it like? They're all married to conquered peoples with grudges and with issues and with parents who committed suicide. And what does that look like played out? It's actually much more interesting than the King Lear version of it. And it merges all the samurai stuff with high Shakespearean theater, which was very unique. Go ahead, Tony.
Sorry. I thought she was the most interesting character. I wanted to see more of her. As soon as I saw her introduction, I was like, oh yeah, she's going to be working against all these guys. And that seemed pretty painfully obvious even to the characters in that world, but then she sexes up the second brother, and then it's all good.
Women manipulate, but it happens all the time. How many times do women just get up under your fucking skin? They say that one thing, they know how to fucking push your buttons differently than a guy does. She can't do it with the other guy, Kurogane, the one samurai. He sees her for what she is right away. And he's like, oh, you get the impression he's like, you give me half a second, I'm going to cut your fucking head off. Give me one opportunity. I know what you are. But her husband, on the other hand, he's susceptible, man, and she just pushes his buttons. Yep. And next, you're a coward. You're
and
not.
That's the best scene when she dies. Oh man, that's just such the best shot of the whole movie.
Oh yeah. Well, she's a very strong, capable female character, and she never picked up, she didn't have to pick up samurai sword and run into a crowd of 100 dudes. She's doing things differently, expressing her strength in a much different way, a way that is more relatable and understandable and realistic.
Very good. Yeah. Her sexuality is her weapon in that culture.
Yeah.
That's the weapon she had. She didn't have the sword. She had her sexuality. She had her brains to manipulate and to enact revenge.
Today it would be what's her Zoe Saldana, and she'd be slapping all the samurai in the head and like judo talk, she'd be putting an omote gyaku on somebody and sending them sailing, and you're gonna do what I tell you to do, and they're gonna go, oh yes, of course, and then she'd be leading them in battle, but no, I mean, the first time she really steps across the line, and we'll get to that in a minute. But also one of the maybe my favorite character was Hidetora, and he's played by a guy called Tatsuya Nakadai. And one of the other themes in this movie is just the absolute horrors of aging. He's old now, and he doesn't really have his physical strength. And, in a moment of relaxation, after he's been warring for 50 years, he's not a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. He decides to just, split his kingdom 3 ways. And the second he lets his guard down to do that, he loses everything. Like his own sons are just there to take from him, to use the system procedurally, to just, take away all of his power, to just completely disrespect him, and you just watch him transform from. There's that great scene in the very beginning because it's a boar hunt, and it's just this old bloody boar. And within about 30 minutes, he goes from that, retired warlord to just a senile old man. Yeah. Like it really only takes a couple of major swipes at him for him to lose everything. And I just thought he had a great physical performance. I think Mike was saying something about it, like almost a theatrical, like that old No style of theater, with the way his body postures, and the facial expressions, especially as he just continues to deteriorate very quickly into, this sort of senility, as he watches his. It's not like he's lost a battle. I think that he would understand, but they attack him in a way that, he's just not prepared for, and that his own sons turn against him. And it's very tragic, and you start to feel bad for him. And then as the story progresses, you got to see what a real bastard he was. When you start to hear from the woman, when you start to hear from that boy that he blinded, just what an evil and cruel bastard he really was. And you're like, there are no good people in this movie.
Well, I would say it looked to me that initially his first 2 sons were very loyal. It's his third son that, and this is to me a weakness in the film, like, why does he leave? Why doesn't he just accept the 3rd castle and then do what the second brother did, basically do what he wants? He just kind of just insults him and takes off. And it seems like he's throwing away his castle for no good reason.
I got suckered into that at the beginning too. I was sitting there going, well, what's his problem? I guess that's the battle. That's the fight, is he's going to fight his 2 older brothers who are loyal. I got pulled into that sort of feint. And I didn't realize, looking back, now I realize why he was the 3rd son was the one who put the shade on the old man, because he was the one who was really loyal and looking out for his father, where the other 2 were just talking shit to try and get their power.
There's a huge issue of pride in this too, where like the old man won't go to his 3rd son. They tell him throughout like the whole movie, go to Saburo. Like he won't do it, because he'd have to admit he was wrong. And he's ashamed. Go ahead, Mike.
And to add what you were saying, like the old man's a rounded character. He's not just the victim. He's also a fool with bad judgment, because the 3rd son was loyal from the very beginning, and he misplayed it. And he's the one who flew off the handle and banned him as well. Same with the other guy, the lackey of Subaru, forget his name, Lord something.
Yeah,
He was,
I know.
yeah,
I know
so
who you're talking
bad
about.
judge of character, hothead. You know, his men should not have been making fun of his son Taro. If anyone's a victim, it's Taro, the oldest son, who got shot by the, you know. But it's all these rounded characters. And one more thing, just want to underscore that point, that when they stay on these wide shots, right? These actors are commanding the scene with their voice, with their body language, and the other characters are becoming beautiful pieces of background. And to never cut to a close-up, to me, that's just so different and offbeat that really kind of just pulled you into the performance even more for me.
Kurosawa, just overall, is one of the greatest directors of all time. He didn't do that many films in color. And so when you see a film like this, and then he does Kagemusha, I think he did maybe he did a few. I have Kagemusha, and Kagemusha. But when you see what he's able to do with like sunlight, in these rolling sorts of samurai scenes with all the horses, and you're like, oh my god, this is just exquisite.
I mean, he didn't only go color. He actually put on a clinic on how to use color in a film. I read that he storyboarded the whole thing, doing paintings, not just sketches, but full-on color paintings. That's amazing. Guy spent 10 years making this movie, and really, like, if this is like his first color movie, or his big color epic, the guy must have studied color theory or something, because he not only did it, but did it so well. It's not just color for color's sake. It's all across the film. I noticed one big thing was the skies. As the movie progresses, the skies get cloudier and cloudier and cloudier. And then when the great Lord has his moment of clarity at the end, he looks up in the sky and there's, it's clearing. I was like, whoa, that's fucking amazing.
Layered, a lot of layered stuff there.
I think the brothers start to go off track the moment you introduce the lady Kade. Is that her name?
Yeah, Kaede.
Kaede. The moment she's introduced, that's when things start to go off track.
Well,
So
she's the one who convinces.
trouble.
Yeah, she's the one who initially says, "What do you mean? Like the old man's concubines have to move for me? Why is his security?" Like, she starts from like the get-go. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the minute someone's guard is down, someone's there to move into that space. This is, I don't know if this is what feudalism was really like, but it's a horrible indictment of it. Just everybody is just scrap. It's like, watching somebody rock climb. They're just trying to get that one finger, in that one little space so they can move up a half an inch. And, in rock climbing, it's beautiful. This is beautiful to watch. But, watching human beings do this to each other, let alone family, it's horrible. One of the worst scenes is when the old man's, all his samurai end up dying, like, to defend him. Yep. And then he can't find a sword to kill himself.
Right. Great scene.
He's looking, and the sword. Remember, his sword breaks. He hits that one guy in the armor. Yeah. And and there's just, it's like his destiny is just to continue to suffer. And as the story progresses, you realize maybe he has some of that coming. He's been a real sack of, what. Hold on a second. We've got, Puppet in Color, best viewers on Streamboot. Okay. All right. Thanks for stopping in. I don't know what that means, but all right. Hellish film. The one Lord Jiru, he did have the one loyal samurai Kuragane, and he's the one who pulls the fox scene. which I just thought was one of the fun. Like, there's no comedy in this, and then all of a sudden there just is this scene where you're like, and I just started I've only seen this movie twice because, like all movies that I really like, I don't like to watch them very often, so they never get old to me. But the first time I saw this, and the second time I saw this last night, I just burst out laughing because he's kind of a villain too. But then when he's initially asked to kill Sue, he's like, look, there are rules to this. Like, we're in war, so there's certain things I'll do a lot of things. He goes, but I'm not doing that. You know, like, you can't order me to do that. And when he pulls that fox out and he tries to tell him, a lot of them take the shape of women. You know, you really need to beware here. But it's just too fucking late.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. Again, also an interesting character was, the blind boy. There's no resolution to that character. I mean, is he just left stuck on the edge of that ridge? Is that it?
Off, man.
Oh, I think he's symbolic of the human condition, right? He's a blind man stuck all alone, you know, anywhere. If he keeps walking, he'll fall off a cliff and he'll die. So I think he was symbolic of the whole thing, really.
Okay.
Yeah, and everything's falling apart around him. Yeah, I think it was. I think I agree. I picked his whole character just existed to be symbolic. I wasn't very thrilled with it, to tell you the truth.
I think that he just served as a platform to sort of show who the old man had actually been. Like I said, there are a lot of old samurai films that are heavily they're heavy indictments, because after the war was over, the Japanese, World War II completely transformed Japan. Yeah. They went from like 1,000 years of war to kids now with like bleach blonde hair who just want to skateboard and, you know, read anime. That's all they want to do anymore. I have friends in Japan, and like the culture they've become completely, well, not completely, but largely pacifistic. They don't want to fight. They don't want, you know, a heavy military again, even with China and North Korea right there on their borders. But there was a lot of self-reflection, and I think a lot of people, they did. I don't think that they made films that showed that the Bushido Code was kind of empty. You know, it was just kind of hollow adherence to rules that did a lot of damage to people, ultimately did a lot of damage to the world, and almost destroyed the entire Japanese culture. So not every samurai film that you see is an action film. In the same way that not every Kurosawa movie is a samurai movie. I just reviewed another one that I'm going to drop a video on in a little bit. But just in terms of quality filmmaking, this one is difficult to defeat, I would argue.
I would argue that the system of the Bushido Code and that era was just the system of that time, you know, because I did a lot of research into, I guess it was the Edo period when the shogun united Japan, and all the samurai were like out of work.
Sure.
The system just changed, right? So instead of being samurai, these guys all sort of melded into various clans of Yakuza. And that's what the Yakuza became. It was Ronin, samurai, gamblers who had been working. They actually had gamblers. This was really interesting to me. They had gamblers in Japan, and their job was to gamble with state workers to try to win the money back the state was paying them for various projects. And that was their job. And the shogun said, okay, no more of that. So they went underground too. And then they had these merchant guilds who, you know, they were all about the money. And those three factions kind of formed the Yakuza. And so their code kind of survived in just a different sort of uptight Japanese society that went from above ground to underground. And
also, I mean, that largely stayed as an insulated sort of thing until the borders got forced open, until what, the mid 19th century,
right.
When Commodore Perry showed up. And then, it just kind of expanded and kind of blew up the world. Japan is an interesting country with a very interesting, one of the more interesting histories out there. Okay, well, let's see. Are we wrapping this one up early? We've got a 2 hour and 45-minute movie, but we're a little over 30 minutes in its review.
Well, there's not much to say about it because it's seriously
qualified, Mike.
Because it's great. It's epic in terms of the material. Like, it's not an unambitious movie, right? Like, Kurosawa wants to do something grand and epic. Really, like, the epic movie should be its own genre when you think about it. Things that are epic, because it has its own feel. They're usually longer movies, and they have gigantic statements on the human condition, and there's many characters. It's not just a drama. It's not just a war movie. It's not just an action sequence. It's a bunch of things all tied together to give you this giant statement. And they either succeed spectacularly or they usually fail spectacularly. If you look at like Megalopolis, which I hear is like unwatchable. By the way, I promised my viewers on my stream I had to watch Megalopolis because I thought it would be a good film just watching the trailer, and now they're mad at me, and they said my sentence is I have to watch Megalopolis. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I haven't found it on streaming for a reasonable price, but I
think it's on Peacock, isn't it?
Is it?
Right?
I think it's on Peacock. Yeah, it's not like some exotic thing. It didn't go anywhere, and it just moved right into a streaming thing, and everybody forgot about it. It's a shame.
Yeah. And you look at a guy like Francis Ford Coppola, and you look at Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, and then you look at 3 and go, what the hell happened?
There are very few directors who bat 1,000. Kurosawa's pretty close. Kurosawa's pretty fucking close. But it doesn't happen very often. Here's an interesting thing. Kurosawa's wife died during this production.
Oh, no.
He took 1 day off, and then went right back into it.
That's so Japanese.
Yeah, either that or he was really married to like Lady Kaede. So I mean, he was kind of okay. Well, I'm done with that. Let me get back to work here.
Jeez.
Well, I just like to jump in. Just like to jump in and revisit real quick what you said about the female characters in this and the feudalism piece that I think Werewolf you really hit on. And you look at the differences of the characters of Lady Kade and Lady Sui and how they both dealt with the trauma of being conquered. And you think about it just not in this period, but you think about across entire human civilization, even back in biblical times, as just that was the way of life for women. Once the other tribe would come in, kill all the men, take the animals and the cattle, and take the women. And this could happen in your life more than one time, to have your entire world destroyed. And then you have to find a way to be a wife to another guy who killed your entire tribe, your family, your clan. And they really saw two things. One got into religion to try to deal with it and peace. And the other one was really revenge. And just to bringing that piece of human history to the forefront and dealing with that was another, a lot of interesting pieces of this movie brought together. That was one of the best pieces of the movie.
And Kaede not even extending any empathy to the one person she was most similar to.
No,
this is a person who identifies exactly with what she's talking about, and it didn't matter. She had to go.
Good point.
She had to go. So again, just the absolute lack of self-awareness of the characters. I mean, you've got Sue had self-awareness, the brother had self-awareness, the fool has self-awareness, and maybe Saburo, the loyal son, who just doesn't sugarcoat things. That was his defect. He didn't find a way to couch what he said in flowery language. So it causes, this rift that leads his other two brothers into, one who's just weak, and then the second one who's even weaker, who just both get upended by the same woman, and leads to the destruction of the entire family, which perhaps was for the best. Perhaps. Who can say? All right. Is there any part of this film or scene that anyone would like to discuss that we have not addressed?
Just the battle scene when all the sound effects stop and all you hear is the music and all that brutality and all that blood. It's just fantastic the way that set piece played out.
That was another thing, the use of sound in this. I think there's a scene there where Hidetora is having another, conniption or, mini stroke or whatever you want to call it. And like the sounds of the insects or the cicadas just keep increasing like in frequency. And it's like maddening, you're like, oh my God, like he's, it's sort of used to indicate what, his mental state is. And yet at the same time, it's just nature. The sound on several occasions, I think where the horses were crossing that one river. And it's just this incredible long, and it's just horses. It's just guys on horses crossing a river. But just the sound quality is just, my God.
I really like the shot of, there was a scene where they were retreating back into the castle, and one of the samurais slammed the door, and the second it shuts, a bunch of arrows just hit the door. And I watched that, and I was like, oh, that must have been fun to coordinate. All right, you're going to have to shut this door. And the second he shuts it, you got to let those arrows go, Great.
Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
It looked great, though. It was just like instant. So I also enjoyed the scene where the great lord, he doesn't have a sword, he can't kill himself, and he doesn't know what to do. He's just kind of sitting there, and they're just shooting into the building, and there's arrows coming in and bullets, and none of them are hitting him. And I think he's kind of hoping he'll be killed instantly, but he's just not. It's like he's waiting to die, and everybody keeps missing him.
It's a very cruel story. There's a lot of cruelty in this. Fantastic film. Fantastic.
It's bleak and tragic. If you're into that kind of thing, it's you can't get much better than the tragedy in this one.
I was a literature major, so I took a Shakespeare class. We had to read 16 plays in one semester, and at least one section were the high tragedies, which were Hamlet, Othello, Lear, and Macbeth. So and Shakespeare would do comedy as well. So you could, Much Ado About Nothing or As You Like It or, something like that, where everybody gets married. That's the ending. Somebody's getting married. Or the tragedy where, the hero dies. Or the main character dies. That sort of thing. And he usually dies of hubris, his own flaws. He doesn't see what the problem is until it's too late, which is everybody's problem in this. Okay. Let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather walk barefoot through a public restroom than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is this is the journey, this is the destination, this is why I watch films in the first place. So far away, what are you giving Akira Kurosawa's Ran?
I cannot go all the way to 5 with this one, for the simple fact that I'm probably never going to watch this thing again. I'm very happy that we do this podcast and I get to watch these movies and be forced to watch these movies, and I enjoyed it tremendously. Reading for 2 hours and 45 minutes, but I got to give it a 4-ish, 4.5-ish.
Got to pick one.
I'll go all the way to 4.5 just because the good aspects of it are so good, but the pacing is a little bit off, and it might be a cultural thing. But yeah, you could shave a half hour off of this and streamline it, and it would be a more watchable movie. That's not to say that what's there is not watchable. It's fantastic, beautiful color theory. The cinematography is great. The acting's great. The action is great. It's just sort of, it's got hurdles that I couldn't make it over.
Okay.
It's my problem.
No problem. Michael James, what do you got?
After careful consideration, I believe the movie's so good that I can overcome that hurdle of a different kind of pacing completely. So I'm going to give it a 5. All the way. All the way to the 5.
5 all the way, right up to the top. Tony D, the local piney, what do you got for us?
I got to give it a 3.5.
Whoa!
It's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. I found myself pausing it, doing other stuff, and then coming back and watching it. It was a chore.
Did you understand in advance what it was? Because if you think samurai film, you might think Toshiro Mifune, you might think a little more
I didn't
action,
expect
and
it
then
to be a blazing action film. I knew it was based on King Lear, but even King Lear is a tough play. I mean, it's a tough play with a lot of characters, and the problem I had with the film, besides the pacing, is just the setup didn't. I mean, part of it's the subtitles too, right? It's when you're reading the subtitles, you're looking down at the words and you're missing the character's expression, and it's hard. It's hard. It takes you out of it. So that's part of the problem too. If I could see this in English or learn Japanese, it might be different. It might be different. I don't know. But
can somebody just hit me in the hand with a fucking roofing hammer after what I just heard? Jesus Christ. Why didn't you hear it in Spanish, Tony? All right, we can just do some of that for you too, all right? That's a little more American. Maybe just say it in Spanish. Senor, Dios mío.
It's tough. It's a tough movie to watch. I liked a lot of it. I mean, I think it's a beautiful movie to watch.
Danny Trejo plays the old boar. All right.
I mean, there's a lot of symbolism in it. It's just, it needs to be tightened up. It needs to be tightened up. I don't, it's fine to have a scene where he has to sign that document and then he has to look at it and he has to read it and then he sets it back down and he looks up and then he finally signs it. Like after a while, those kinds of scenes start to add up. It start to add up, and I want to see more of. I wanted to see more of Lady K and her machinations. I wanted to see more of her. She was the one who was pulling all the strings. But the brothers were cool. I think I would have liked to have seen a scene in which we see the brothers kind of getting along at first, and we kind of don't, because it's the very beginning of the movie, and boom, they're split and they all go their separate directions. But it's a tough movie for me. It's just tough. So
all right. Fine. 3.5. No worries. Okay. And there's if you want to give it a 1.5, that's fine. It's your experience, and that goes for anybody. So I mean, I'm just saying. For me, I'm going with a 4.5, and I'll tell you why.
Really, I was expecting a 5 right out the gate, but go ahead.
See, there you go. I'll tell you why. I'll give you a 4. I don't really have any argument against the film, and so you understand my perspective. When Kenneth Branagh did his unabridged version of Hamlet, it's 4 hours long. I own that motherfucker on DVD, and I'll probably update it on Blu-ray.
That's the film, I would say, has amazing pacing. I saw that in the theaters, and I couldn't believe. I thought I had time traveled when I got to that theater. I got out. I was like, holy cow, it's 4 hours later. How long was this damn movie? It
Well,
don't feel
we're
like
talking
4
about
hours.
that. I've got that. I've got the Snyder cut at 4 hours. I've got tons of movies like Lawrence of Arabia, The Godfather, Ben-Hur, Ten Commandments, Kingdom of Heaven, director's cut. So there's just like an endless plethora. If you're putting on a 4-hour movie, I'm probably going to be there just for the experience.
But Hamlet don't feel like 4 hours. Hamlet moves. I've never seen a movie.
I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with this pacing either. The reason I'm not giving it I'm not moving it away from 5 because of the pacing. I have no argument against the pacing whatsoever. My issue is that there are other Kurosawa films that I think do reach the 5. And so for that reason, I don't think that this quite did. I don't know what it is about it that pulls that half a point away, but there are ones that I know that are 5. I'll give you an example, and I'm going to High and Low, which I just viewed, and I'm going to drop a video on within the next couple of days, is a 5. It's a 5. It's a little over 2 hours, about 2 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. Seven Samurai, 3 hours. That's a 5. The Bad Sleep Well. It's his interpretation of Hamlet. It's 5. But there's something about this that it's not quite. Yeah, it's not quite there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is a 5. I don't know. But I'm going with a 4.5 for right now. And there we go. Okay. So far away. Plug something.
Cubs are beating St. Louis 7-0 at the top of the 4th. Cubs.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the Cubs appreciate your.
I got nothing to promote. Come see Soup Sandwich at the Belmar Surf Pro on September 7th.
What day of the week is that?
It's probably Sunday.
Oh, it's a day show.
Sunday afternoon at the beach. Come see some good surfing and see us play.
Okay. Michael James, what do you got for us? What's going on with the channel?
I have produced a innovative version of the Screw Tape Letters. It's a 4-part mini-series of the Screw Tape Letters. It came out really good. It's on my YouTube channel, Divine Will Era, next Wednesday at 8 o'clock with Werewolf doing some acting in it. Come see his acting debut. It turned out really well. Check it out. 4 15-minute episodes dropping each week starting next Wednesday.
Nice.
Mike, I should say, Mike, put a lot of effort into that with the script and, just driving everybody else to, get them in the right place and that sort of thing. So hats off to you, Mike. I know you put a lot of effort into that. Definitely a passion project for you. So, very nice.
Check it out.
All right. Tony D, what do you got for us, local Piney?
I've got the Pineys, books 1 through 17, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free, and book 18 coming out in about 2 weeks. I also finally put up a t-shirt store on fourthwall.com. You can check out a link at Fourth Wall or go to my YouTube channel. There's a link there. It's
Tony. Wait, hold on, Tony. Send me a link to that, and I'll put it in the description.
Oh, okay, great. The link is I don't think I have an easy link. Oh, I could put it up in your chat, couldn't I?
Just text it to me.
Text it? Okay.
Yeah, just text it to me. I'll put it in.
So it's Fourth Wall and 3 new Piney t-shirts with the covers of some of the books, and so I'm excited about that and stuff on the back, and so very excited about that and excited about the new book coming out in July.
All right, very nice. How is Joan of Arc?
Joan of Arc is good. She's very frustrated because I won't take her out in the day because it's been so hot, and she's a tiny little dog covered in fur, and she doesn't do well in the heat. So she doesn't understand and is very frustrated and has peed on my front door. So I have to deal with that and take her out as soon as the sun goes down, which is, looks like we're finally in the darkness. We can finally go outside, Joan. Finally.
Yeah, it looked like this heat is going to break. Thank God. I was telling Bill yesterday during the lunch break at work. I went out to Wawa, got in my truck, fired it up, and it was 117 degrees. on the thermostat. 117 in my truck. Got back in at 5 o'clock, 106. So that was a nice break. 106 is a nice break. For this channel, dropped a video for Akira Kurosawa's Ikiru, which is not a samurai film, but it's up there on the channel. So go take a look at that. This is up now, and within the next day or so, I'm going to be covering Kurosawa's High and Low with the famous Toshiro Mifune, and it is the story of a wealthy industrialist who is the target as he's about to become majority shareholder in the company that he's worked in for 30 years. He's the target of kidnappers. And the kidnappers think that they've kidnapped his son, but they have not. They've kidnapped his limousine driver's son because they're best friends, about an 8 to 10-year-old boy, and are demanding a ruinous amount of ransom, like something that will financially ruin him. So the first half of the story is a morality tale. Do I have an obligation to financially ruin myself and ruin my life, and the ability to provide for my family to save this one life, and then or not? And then the second is the police procedural to capture the son of a bitch who does this stuff. So I'm going to drop that in the next couple of days. Just got to finish up the script and then get it out there. We will be back probably sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It will be another Kurosawa film. If anybody would like to join us from this panel, you are welcome to. I haven't decided which one it is yet, but I'll be in touch with everybody. My thanks to So Far Away over there in, the northern part of the state. My thanks to Michael James from Divine Will Era YouTube channel. And my thanks to Tony D, the local Piney. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. This is the American Werewolf. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel.